and who needs support. Some are living in the cities, they don't have parents, they don't have anyone to support them. They are working without help, without rest, and it cannot be good for their health.
Also, President Akufo-Addo commits to address the threat of terrorism, actualization of the single currency for member states, plus others, as he assumes a 2-year mandate as chairman of ECOWAS.
The activities of these terrorists form the backdrop to the recent coup in Mali.
In business,
banks fear the negative impact of COVID-19 on loans will linger on to 2023.
And we'll definitely catch up with the president as he also is out and about in the Bono East and Ahafa regions. We'll bring you updates on that. And one-time winners of the National Science and Maths Quiz, St. Thomas Aquinas, say they will win the 2020 competition as they progress to the 1A stage of the NSFQ.
Aquinas, St. Aquinas, from victory to victory.
From victory to victory. Sing it for you later.
We'll get all that later here on Newsnight. But please join us with your thoughts and comments. It's via WhatsApp on 0244340437. Those of you watching on Facebook, you can also leave your comments right there. And thanks for watching. I am Emefa Apawu.
And my name is Mensah.
At this point, let's head up north because the death toll in the Bagri Dam spillage have increased to 10, with over 200 houses submerged by floodwaters in the northeast and upper east regions. Now, that's according to the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO. 2 children were injured in the destruction in Tripoli, for instance. Now, days of rain has made matters even worse, leaving farmlands submerged, buildings collapsed, and several roads inaccessible. Northeast Regional Correspondent Ilyasu Tanko has been monitoring the situation together with Albert Sori in the North Upper East region as well. But let's start with Ilyasu. Ilyasu, what's the condition of the 2 children who were injured? Let's start with that.
Well, we understand these two children have been discharged. They were hospitalized in the morning after an overnight rain caused the building to collapse on them. And so as we speak, information from the Tripoli area indicates that the children were sent to the hospital and currently they have been treated and discharged.
Now, let's talk about the level of destruction in the Tripoli district. Paint a picture to us.
Well, the Tripoli district, we started getting information about this situation yesterday, actually. And since yesterday, the rain kept coming. And as we speak, several communities have been cut off. The Yendi Tripoli main road has been cut off. Several bridges have been washed. Many residents trapped in their communities, unable to move. The NADMO authorities tell us that it will take days for people to move out of their communities, especially from the Tripoli district capital itself. People will not be able to move out of the district. A lot of farmlands are currently submerged, and the rain keeps coming. And so it's a very desperate situation in there.
Now, stay with us, Elias Sutanko. Let's bring in Albert Sori, who is in the Upper East region. Albert, I understand the situation is no different where you are. What's the current situation?
Yes, Emefa. So we have just learned from NADMO that in the Upper East region, 4 deaths have now been recorded officially. Apart from that, several houses are currently submerged and hundreds of people are displaced. Now, in the Boku West district, for example, near Kubori, the water has overflown the White Volta over the bridge and flooded the road. So because of that, NADMO in collaboration with the police have been stopping vehicles. They don't want people to try to cross that portion of the road because nobody knows the extent of the damage that has been caused to the road. And so nobody will know what will happen if somebody tries to cross. A while ago, we've just interacted with some displaced persons at a team near Sombrongo here in the Bolgatanga municipality. Now, these are about 40 people from 3 different households who are now, seeking shelter in a school as well as an uncompleted fuel station. We just interacted with them a while ago. So generally, it's getting very serious. And even today, more rains have come in different parts of the region.
So just so we're clear, gentlemen, Ilyasu and Albert, so we have 6 deaths in the northeast region and then 4 in the upper east region. Is that the case, making 10 in all?
Exactly, Emefa.
Okay. Well, but Ilyasu, you got to interact with the regional NADMO coordinator as well. What has he been saying?
Well, earlier on, there had not been any emergency aid plan for the victims, but as we speak, the NADMO is organizing. Tomorrow, we understand some relief items will be airlifted from the regional capital to the Mampurgu-Muaduri district, particularly, which has been hard hit by this particular situation. And then the NADMO officials tell me that tomorrow they will camp in one of the communities, which is in the high ground, and so they will be able to distribute the relief items to the people around the area.
Men on the ground from the Chepoli district that a building collapsed at a village called Sampana, and 2 children were affected. So these children were taken to the Chepoli hospital, they were treated and discharged. So they are safe now. And then we have also been told that some houses in Chepoli have been submerged in water. So we asked our men to do the assessment and give us the actual figures. And like I said, what is happening in Mampurgu-Muaduri, we are just trying to dispatch relief items to the area so that tomorrow a joint team, which is going to be led by the Honorable Regional Minister, to go and then do the distribute to the affected victims. Mampurgu-Muaduri, for instance, we have about 14 communities which have their farmlands submerged in water. And some of these communities are Kukwa, Zalu, Prima, Suru, Wima, Kosobi, Sisi, Loari, Kuba, Sapaba, and others. And some of the major roads too are cut off because of the spillage in the torrential rains. We've just been told that from our men on the ground that the West Mempusi Municipal Executive Director that is currently in passing pay. Some of the houses in Passing Pay are submerged in water. So they are working out to assess the situation and give us the actual figures. We go to Walwale, we have about 12 communities that have their farmlands submerged in water. These communities are Yama, Bia, Pasimpia, Zulu, Misiu, and then Jana. And then the road network to there. Some of the roads have been cut off. Like Pasimpia and then Bia is cut off.
Let me bring in my colleague from the Upper East region, Albert. Albert, you've also been having a conversation with NADMO in your region. We've heard a case in the Northeast region. What is it that they've been telling you there?
Regional Director Jerry Asamani tells us that right now what they are trying to do is first to get people to move to safe places. Then they can do the count and know, the number of people who are affected and the kind of help that they will need. Now, in terms of the farmlands, they also need to know when the water subsides, the extent of the damage. Then they'll be able to, quantify and be able to help these people. But then they have distributed some relief so far, blankets and things that some of the displaced people need. But these are the people who are worst affected as we speak.
The current situation is too bad. It's too bad because a combination of the effects of the Bagri Dam spillage and then the torrential rainfall has really worsened the situation in the Upper East region, especially the Nabdam, the Boku West, the Binduri, the Talisi district. The situation now is that most of our bridges are blown off. The main ECOWAS bridge that is linking the Boku West, that is the Villa districts, and then the Boku zone are flooded. That the water has come up to the bridge and not in the entry point of the bridge. So that has been the situation now. The lower levels of the lower foot of the bridge is literally eaten up. That is, erosion has taken place, and we are afraid if the water doesn't recede, it might erode that portion, and that will mean the whole water flooding into the Kobore Township, which is a low-lying area.
How are you handling the situation? What exactly are you doing at the
what we are doing is that we have stationed NADMO workers about a mile from the Zebila side of the bridge to caution people to return. And just closer, we have brought in the police to mount barriers at both ends of the bridge, such that people would not attempt. The first day, that was yesterday, people tried forcefully going through, and now they tried endangering themselves. Our articulators were carrying people to cross. And
I mean, we're getting more from the, of course, authorities in these areas, how bad this is. If you listen to the chief executive for the Wale area, Somo Laki Arimaya Ishaku, he says that it is the worst floods they have experienced. They are currently sensitizing residents on relocating, giving aid to victims.
You could see that almost all the farmlands have been submerged. I went there with the NADMO directors for us to see how best we could be of help. Today, I've sent them back to the various communities for them to do something we call the listening, so that they can list some of the houses that have been affected, so that as assembly, we see how best we can intervene to support them. Once we make necessary attempts, and then get NADMO involved to see how best we can also support them. At this time, actually, the people need the help of the government, and we are trying our best to see what we can do to support them.
Let's speak to the coordinator, NADMO coordinator for the Upper East region now, Jerry Asemeni, joins us on the line. Mr. Asemeni, thank you for your time here on Newsnight. Quickly, if you can update us on the official figures of deaths so far. What is it for the Upper East?
In the Upper East, we have recorded 4. 1 woman, 2 teenagers, and 1 man.
Okay.
The woman and the 2 teenagers were as a result of rooms collapsing on them. But 1 got drowned on the River Sicily that runs through Bulsa North.
And how many people have been displaced per your count so far?
Per our count so far, we have about 68.
68 people?
Yes.
Okay, do you expect more? Are you still counting and do an assessment?
In fact, the situation is so bad that we are only praying against this. But so far, apart from the Kobore Bridge that has cut the Boku zone and the Zebila West that people cannot cross, so far I think it's okay. We're only praying that we don't expect listen, it looks like people are paying heed to our sensitization process, unlike previous years where people were swept away. And this year, apart from the collapsed buildings, and that is as a result of the structures, the engineering nature of our structures of our local houses, that caused those problems. But so far, we are not expecting more. But the rain is still coming down. The combination of the Bagre Dam that has totally exacerbated the place, the combination of the two really makes the situation so bad in the region that this morning, almost every day, the rain is dropping. So we cannot talk rather than praying against serious deaths.
Listening to you, it sounds like a situation out of your control, true?
I cannot easily admit that it is out of the control. Yes, with the Bagre Dam spillage, the water is flowing over banks and the torrential rainfall is coming. There's no way we can fight a man-made cause and a natural this thing like the torrential rainfall. Yes, the control is the disaster, but the floods, the rains coming down, we have no control over those things. But it is when the disaster happened, what we would be doing, that would determine whether it can be controlled or not.
Let's talk about that. I mean, as we speak tonight, do you have enough to assist these victims of the floods?
Yeah, we have been the stock, and the national has assured us, the government has assured of reinforcement. The supplies that we have, we are doing targeting. That is where the need be that items are directed to those areas until the reinforcement comes, and I hope any time soon those items would arrive. But we have already had our supplies last 2 weeks, and then we are ready to. And then concurrently, as we check the disaster occurrences, we are equally issuing relief items for those who are displaced. So far, we have released blankets, mattresses, mats, soap, basins, and mosquito nets, coils, and all that. So we are concurrently doing the fight with relief items.
I'm grateful Jerry Asimenizi, Upper East Regional Animal Coordinator, now the Works and Housing Minister, Samuel Tacha, who's been speaking on the Super Morning Show, is asking residents to move to higher grounds as a permanent solution is found to the problem.
I sympathize with those who've lost people. I can tell you that we are wide awake and we want to give it the permanent fix. In the meantime, we are doing what we call sensitization programs so that people move from harm's way. But NADMO and all the stakeholders are doing serious business to educate the people in the area. So it is not governmental impotence as is being portrayed. So the permanent fix is there, that the loan has been secured, and we'll soldier on with that. But in the meantime, I'm telling you, we are desalting. What that means is that when you desalt and you dredge the Volta, when there's any spillage, it runs through the channels that have been dredged to minimize the effect of what is happening.
So that's the Works and Housing Minister, and this is a perennial issue, and we know that the President has been meeting his counterpart in the Burkina Faso. For instance, Presidential Affairs Correspondent Elton Broby joins us. So this is not the first time we've had to report on the Bagri Dam spillage. You know what has been done so far?
Well, I think that last year we were told that per the measures to control it, there will be formal communication in case Burkina Faso wants to open the dam. But you and I know the situation in Burkina Faso now. There's a coup d'etat. There's a military regime in Burkina Faso. It's unclear whether such communication came forth before the dam was opened. But the president was at an ECOWAS meeting yesterday. It's unclear whether, because Burkina Faso, as we speak now, is suspended from all ECOWAS activities until they are back in constitutional rule. So it's unclear in terms of going forward. But as far as government is concerned, they say that the construction of Palugu Dam will effectively address this issue in the future.
Okay, thank you very much, Elton Broby.
So listening to Newsnight, I want to hear from you if you are in that part of the country and you're affected. Send me WhatsApp 0244 340437. And let's stay in the Upper East region where 4 people have been killed so far from the flooding. Tonight, residents there have been reacting to this promise in the NDC manifesto.
Now, key areas under the big push: construct a domestic airport in Upper East region. The land was secured when I was president, and it's a project that we will continue.
Well, just like the MPP's promise to build an airport in Cape Coast, this promise has excited residents in the Upper East region, regardless of questions from experts about the feasibility of the airport.
Important for building the airport in Upper East here, because travel from Upper East here to Tamale or Upper West to take flight to go to somewhere, it's not easy. So I think it's better for them to build it in Upper East here too.
Well, we are very, very glad of what he said. That it is very, very important, because anybody who is trying to travel from here to within Ghana here, either from Bolga to Kumasi or from Bolga to Accra, you have to go to Boku, Wa, before you could get a flight to some of these regions that I mentioned. Or you have to travel from Bolga to Tamale before you could get a flight. to Accra or Kumasi. So the distance from Bolga to Tamale is very, very far. Is before you could get a flight, and then from Bolga to Uwa to Tamale is also far. So he planning to build an airport for Bolga here is very, very important. We like it, and it is very good too.
Yeah, actually, for me, I think it's good because Upper East we are lagging behind. Other regions have the airport, and we have seen the benefits, how important it is. So I believe if you also get some, or if you get one, it will help us a lot. It is not only going to bring jobs to our people, but also it will make life comfortable for those of us who want to travel by air.
Well, the tale of two airports, the Cape Coast one for MPP, the Upper East one for the NDC. Let's interrogate this promise a bit more. Dr. Yakubu Akparibo is the aerospace medicine physician and medical director of CareFlight Ghana, as an expert in this area. Doc, thank you for your time here on Newsnight. We spoke when the MPP promised to build a new airport in Cape Coast. We have another one. First, establish for me once more what factors you consider in siting an airport.
Good evening, Evans, and good evening to your listeners. Just to make a disclosure, I'm from the Upper East region, yeah, but whatever I'm going to say is purely an expert opinion, yeah, and it has no bearing on that, yeah. So, like I mentioned earlier, there are several factors that we need to consider when you want to site an airport. One could be economic reasons, two could be safety, and then if you want to promote general aviation, yeah. So if you look at the Upper East region, Bolga to Tamale is about 150 kilometers or 100 miles, you know. So we already have an international airport in Tamale. Now, you want to have another airport in Bolga. So you want to find out whether there's really the need. There's an economic need to have an airport there. That's one. Two, is there like a safety issue with the Tamale airport that you want to explore nearby towns and then have an airport there? So if you look at all these factors, I don't think there's the need to have an airport there, just like we said for Cape Coast. The best thing that we could do is to have like a high-speed rail between Bolga and Tamale, so that even if you want to catch an international flight, which currently we don't even operate from Tamale, then you could use the rail to connect. But you can construct an airport anywhere. You can construct an airport in any town, but is there really the need for that? We currently have airport in Ho. We don't use it. The one in Wa, few flights started going there, and as it is now, we don't even use that. So I don't think that like our priority should be getting airports in these cities. We should rather be thinking of constructing a high-speed rail between the two cities.
Okay, I mean, so same verdict as in the Cape Coast one, you believe. So your argument is that the current airport in Tamale is enough. If you want to do anything at all, rail to link the Bolgatanga to Tamale should be your best option.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, instead of like trying to get another airport there. If you look at the passenger flow from Accra to Upper East, will that really be viable for a commercial airline to fly that route? I don't think so. Why the Africa World had to be persuaded before they even started flying to WA. So I don't think currently there's the need for a domestic.
And this is WA, which is almost 6 hours drive.
Exactly.
Once you get out of the plane in Tamale. And that you say is struggling to get commercial flights there.
Yes.
And I guess the flip side is a journey which is 2 hours to Bolgatanga.
To Bolgatanga, exactly.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Yakubu Akparibo. He's aerospace medicine physician and medical director of the CareFlight Ghana. I mean, let's still stay with the NDC manifesto.
Well, the promise to build the airport is part of what the NDC calls the Big Push, where they plan to spend $10 billion over a 5-year period in key infrastructural projects. Listen.
The $10 billion Big Push for infrastructure development and economic transformation will involve an investment of $10 billion over 5 years. It will transform our economy in furtherance of our 1 million jobs plan. Projects under the Big Push will be executed in all cases by Ghanaian registered companies that pay their taxes in Ghana. This is to ensure that the money circulates within Ghana. And so if you want to participate, your business should be registered in Ghana and pay taxes in Ghana. These investments will stimulate and grow indigenous Ghanaian businesses. The $10 billion investment will be directed to stimulate the economy by sourcing as much as possible locally available materials and products for the execution of the projects.
Let's probe this. Let's bring in the Professor Godfred Bokwing, economist and professor of finance at the University of Ghana Business School. Prof, thank you for your time here on Newsnight.
Good evening, and good evening to our cherished listeners.
Later, I'll also be joined by of course, the NDC parliamentary candidate for Abura Sebu Pamankese. That is Felix Kwatifusu. Hello, Felix.
Yeah, hello.
Your name of your constituency is a mouthful. I have to get used to it. Thank you for joining us. So, Prof, tell me, so $10 billion, 5 years, infrastructure, where you sit, where our debt stock is. Question that everybody's asking after yesterday was, how do you get the money? Can you even get it? And what would it mean for economy? Have you thought about this, and what are your answers?
Look, Evans, I've gone through the manifesto and that of the MPP. It looks to me that the manifesto didn't have recognize for COVID-19, that these are unusual times, that we are talking about Ghana's economy where recovery now will go beyond 3 years. We are not even talking about growth even to pre-pandemic level and all of that. So when I see a big disconnect between the reality on the ground right now and even the medium-term outlook and the manifestos we are considering right now. Look, let's come to the big push. So immediately, without reading the document, what comes to mind is that our public debt is going to go up. But they are saying that this will be done without adding to the public debt stock. But then you go through the entire manifesto, and there's very little effort at demonstrating how the money will be accumulated to finance this without burdening without adding to the debt stock. Look, the NDC must come clearly and demonstrate, bearing in mind the challenges we have right now and the outlook for the next 3 to 4 years, and how these promises fit within this. Until then, I think we don't have anything to discuss. You know, it's so easy because of our election to say that we are going to inject 10 billion into the economy, even 20 billion or whatever. How is that going to be done? We are talking about an economy where, as we speak right now, our tax effort is not sufficient to even cater for the interest payment on our debt and compensation of employees. Look, the projection going into next year, if we are not careful, is going to be a bit challenging even for government paying salaries. Now, if you look at the international capital market, that is practically on hold. So that option is closed. You look at your debt, your tax effort, because you are unable to generate sufficient tax revenue, even in pre-pandemic level. At a time when private sector needs a lot of pushing from the same government in terms of tax relief and all of that, how much can you generate by way of tax revenue? That is not the only thing. If you look at all the freebies in manifestos and you quote them, look, do you know something? We can say this to other people and get away. I think let's get real. When I say let's get real, it has nothing to do with whether you like this party or the other party. Let's go to track records and see, during the State of Nations address, several of them, promises our leaders made and the variance, how they successfully failed You can pick the last 4 years of the NDC's administration and look at the budget variance between promises and actual. And you realize that the easiest thing to do on the face of the earth is to promise. And the reason we all have to be critical is that they are not God. NPP is not God. As for God, all his promises are yes and amen. But for man, all our promises are the same. But it's only in our deeds that we differ. We need to be very critical. Other than that, it's almost like a deception. And it's not peculiar to the NDC alone. We need to get to the stage where our politicians must demonstrate how they have costed their promises, how that is going to impact on debt sustainability and revenue generation without overheating the economy.
Let's
guarantee private sector growth.
Thankfully,
that is very, very critical.
Thankfully, the questions you've asked, we have Felix who speaks on these matters when it comes to infrastructure, and the big push mainly was to invest in infrastructure. Felix, how do you answer the questions that Prof is asking?
Well, good evening. Thanks for the opportunity. Professor Buckton's position without, if it was not the case that the flag bearer John Dramani had barely weeks ago indicated how a big push was going to be. It is instructive that the professor himself spoke the need to examine the of persons in such process. And I'm sure that he aware that there's evidence the use of non-debt sources to finance the project. Indeed, up had of about 4 that were done. The biggest is the MPS at the it cost in $1 billion. It is a product of a partnership between MPS partners and the Ghana.
Okay. I mean, forgive me, Felix. We're having a challenge with the line. We need to correct it. Kindly, if you reposition, we're going to get you back so you could articulate the answers to the questions that Prof has asked on these key issues.
But at least 18 free items are directly promised. They cut across all sectors of national life, from free primary health care through to free tertiary education for persons with disabilities, to free seedlings for cocoa farmers and agriculture. The following report captures some of them.
This election will be about the very soul of a new Ghana. Our historic mission right now is to provide...
Mensah Mahama was joined by his running mate, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, and a host of other top party brains to highlight portions of the manifesto. At least 18 items are directly listed as free in the document. The opposition party is promising free primary health care, free tablets to facilitate teaching and learning, expand the free SHS program to cover students in private senior high schools in underserved or deprived areas, among others.
We will also establish free Wi-Fi zones in all public and private tertiary institutions.
Free technical and vocational education at the secondary and tertiary levels, and a free national apprenticeship program.
It is a plan to provide the free technical and vocational education at the secondary and tertiary levels. The next NDC administration will absorb 50% of fees for tertiary students for the 2020-2021 academic year.
That is just a catalogue of some of the key promises that was made yesterday by the NDC. I have back on the line, on a better line right now, Felix Kwachifo. So Felix, you were answering questions that the Prof had asked about how are you funding the 10 billion project in the midst of the COVID challenges.
I was making that the point raised by Professor Buckton would have been valid if it were not the case that the flag bearer of the NDC, John Dramani Mahama, barely 3 weeks ago, had clearly articulated how this was going to be done. In fact, on the very first day that he broached the subject of the big push in an interview in the Volta region, he indicated that whilst in government, we use similar models to execute major infrastructure projects. So it is instructive that Professor Buckton himself speaks about the need to examine the track records of persons making such promises. I can tell you of at least 4 major infrastructure projects that have been done, and that were done without adding $1 to the national debt. because of how the financing was structured. The biggest amongst them is the MPS terminal at the terminal port, which is a product of a partnership between MPS and a number of partners and the Ghana Ports and Harbors authorities. It cost in excess of $1 billion, but it has not added to Ghana's public debt because it is a BOOT concession arrangement, which does not add to our debt. The other one is the Terminal 3 project, which was done using the balance sheet of the Ghana Airports Company Limited. So they borrowed over $300 million to execute that project and other projects in the aviation sector. What we did as a government was that initially, government was taking a part of the internally generated funds of the Ghana Airport Company Limited. We asked them to keep all the ideas in order to build their balance sheet to a level that makes it possible for them to leverage it to borrow commercially to execute major projects. And that is how come Terminal 3 sits there and has not added anything to our public debt. The other one is the Ameri Power, which costs about $500 million. Indeed, but for the extension that the MPP did, next year, 2020, would have seen Ameri handing over that plan to the government of Ghana with about 15 more years left in its lifespan. And in that arrangement, too, it was a BOOT that did not add anything to our public debt. The other one was a Twabo gas plant, and that one, oil was used, such that it did not add to our public debt. And yet, it sits there as a $1 billion facility, and there are a number of them around. So, we are acutely aware that the NPP has borrowed so much as to completely remove any space there is for commercial borrowing. And so, while making the promise, President Obama was mindful of the need to keep this in mind. And that is why he told the whole world in that interview that this was the model that we were going to use. Also, I don't think that the impression should be created that merely because we have COVID, we are going to stop collecting revenue as a country, or that we are no longer going to get oil revenue, or that there is not the possibility of arranging financing of another kind. What will happen is that government is going to have to readjust its priorities and cut back on non-critical consumption-related expenditure if the agenda is to boost our infrastructure, to open up the economy and bring it up to pre-COVID levels. Because for us to get to that level, some investments will have to take place. So the NDC has thought through this matter. And it may be the case that when you open the manifesto, you will not find details in there. The truth is that you will hardly find a manifesto anywhere in the world that is so detailed as to give you the cost breakdowns and how it is going to be executed. When you come to draw up the policy, the details of the policy, whilst you come into government, you have the opportunity then to put out the details and do your consultations and engage stakeholders and let them become aware of exactly what the plan is. But the manifesto sets out the broad outlines of our policy positions. And the big push is central to getting this country to the level where we have adequate infrastructure to anchor our national development.
So
Professor Bokwen's concerns. But I think that if he averts his mind to the issues that are raised and what the flag bearer of the NDC has said, his concerns will be addressed.
Just for clarity, so the entire $10 billion, you plan to raise this all without adding to the debt stock?
That is a commitment that we have made. But of course, as and when there is space, that does not imperil our debt sustainability position. Why not? We can explore other options. But in the main, we are going to use these approaches that I've outlined to finance the big push.
Yeah, because that raises the question about what exactly we are spending the money on. And yesterday, the former president was clear in listing a few of the things. And the key question that raises is, are these projects that will yield revenues enough to pay off? For example, the airport example you raised, the airport can generate its own revenue and pay back, right? And so it raises the question whether providing infrastructure for agriculture and agribusiness warehouses, silos, irrigation dams, farmers services centers, that's the first item you'll be spending the money on, for example. Some of these areas, social interventions, they don't necessarily bring you back revenue for you to help pay back part of the $10 billion. So that's the question. If you're not adding to the debt stock and you're doing build, operate, and transfer, which again you have to invest in the areas that then allow you to recoup. But some of the projects are not necessarily that; they are social intervention. So how do you explain that link there?
But Evans, agriculture is a commercial activity. I do not know of any part of this country where agriculture is done on the basis of charity.
Oh, I know. I mean, when you say irrigation, for example, for the point you say irrigation dams, they don't necessarily pay back anything to you.
The services that are rendered can generate revenue depending on how it is structured. When you do affordable housing, for instance, and we have indicated that we will do about 20,000 houses over a 4-year period. It is social housing, but the occupants of those houses will be paying rent. So whoever invests money in it will recover it over a period of time, depending on how it is structured. When you do energy projects, for instance, the IPPs that are in Ghana at the moment are private entities. They generate electricity. ECG buys it, distributes it to us. We pay ECG. ECG pays them back. So they recoup their investment. So there's hardly any capital expenditure that you make that you do not generate revenue from. There are some of them that are of a social nature, but they also facilitate economic growth. For instance, if you fix the road between a farm gate and the market, what you are going to do is that you will reduce post-harvest losses so that the farmer can generate more. And if there is taxation that he has to pay, he pays. If he is going to generate employment, so that people that are employed pay income tax to show up our revenue, that will happen. So it is important that you view infrastructure from the standpoint of a catalyst for economic growth. Because when your economy is on a downturn, you need to do something to stimulate it. And that is precisely what President Mahama plans to do with the big push. We also have to bear in mind that this country is growing. And it is the case that some of our infrastructure is becoming outmoded. And it needs to be replaced in order that it provides the sort of standard of living that we want for our people. And also provides a basis upon which business thrive and add value to our economy. So it is not the case that if government invests $10 billion in the economy, it is money going down the drain. Whilst we can appreciate that our debt has become practically unsustainable, and we fear that the NPP will leave this country bankrupt when they leave power in July 2021, because there will be very little to nothing left for any government to do anything. But we will be responsible. And that is why sometimes we have criticized the consumption-led approach by this government, that it puts money in consumption. When you check our capital expenditure to GDP ratio, it has continued to decline to about 0.9% in 2020, which means that they are spending more on consumption than on capital projects. And that must be a problem.
I want to
analysts and economists.
I want to quickly get your take, very briefly, if you may, on the airport in the Upper East region. We spoke to Dr. Parable, the aviation expert, who raised the factors that you need to consider: viability, feasibility, etc., and concludes that because you have an airport which is 2-hour drive away from Tamale, he believes that within the factors that they consider in the sector, that airport in Upper East, just like the Cape Coast one from the MPP, isn't economically viable. Question is, do you have a feasibility study that tells you that this is economically viable for that particular area in Bolgatanga?
Well, while in government, we embarked on a project to examine the feasibility of establishing an airport in each regional capital. So that is work that exists. I am not able to speak specifically to a feasibility study in respect of an airport in the Upper East region, but there are many reasons that will make it viable to put an airport there. We all know that the majority of traffic in our airspace emanates from Accra. Accra is 804 kilometers away from the capital of the Upper East region, Bolgatanga. And there are people who would like to fly direct from Accra to Bolgatanga without going through Tamale. Because when you get to Tamale, you need to spend another 2 hours to get there. And if you add the flying time and the turnaround time, which is almost 2 hours from Accra to Tamale, that is if you consider checking and disembarking and getting your luggage and all that, you are talking 4 hours on the road. And there are many who would wish to do that or to make that journey under 1.5 hours from Accra to Bolga. So there's every reason to believe that to the extent that there is some activity in the Upper East region which attracts some traffic, it would make sense economically to put an airport there, given its distance from even Tamale and Accra.
Okay.
But of course, detailed and comprehensive studies will be undertaken to be absolutely certain about its feasibility. So this is the proposal that we have made. Now, in respect of
Felix, just for the time, for the sake of time, we're going to continue this conversation on PM Express tonight. I'm grateful that you joined us on the key questions that have been raised. I want to join Felix and myself and others on PM Express at 9 p.m. as we continue to interrogate some of these issues from the NDC manifesto.
And the party's intention also to expand the free SHS to cover private senior high schools in deprived communities have also come up. Subsequently, we'll get to deal with that as well. But let's quickly head to the camp of the NPP, and we know that the Vice President is on tour, and then the President is also in the Bono and Bono East regions. We'll go to him shortly. But let's stay on the Vice President, because he says that a vote for John Mahama would mean a reverse of the Ghanaian economy.
This election is a very, very important election for all of us in Ghana, for the people of the Upper West region, for the people of Wa East constituency, and for the people of Bulenga. It is very important because we are at a crossroads, basically. We have a choice to either go forward or to go backward. And if we go forward, the future is bright. But if we go backward, we are going back into mismanagement and hardships. The choice is between Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and the NPP, and John Mahama on the other hand, and the NDC. Thankfully, both candidates and both parties, we have been in government. The NDC, they were there for 8 years, and Nana Akufo-Addo has been there for just less than 4 years. But the records are there to see, and it is very clear. When you look at the record, you will know who is managing this country better.
That's the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. We have more in your election headquarters, but let's do business now. George Wiafe, apologies, 1,000 of them. What's the business?
Well, if you build the airport in my hometown, maybe.
Where is your hometown?
Well, events coming up in business. Banks fear negative impact of COVID-19 on loans will linger on to 2023. And MTN extends waiver mobile money charges up to 100 Ghana cedis to the end of this year. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all your offers, essentials, and First National Bank.
Look at you, the big boss.
You know they hear.
You know they fear who?
Until somebody says, I will tell your mother.
That's why we say wear a mask, or else
we will call your mother.
Hey, why are you disgracing me? Why your mask?
Wear it for her. Wear it for me everywhere you go. MTN. Visit wearit4.me to send a message to someone.
We give you nothing but the best. We stay above the rest. More quality, more affordability. Kingdom Books and Stationery. Everybody's going to the one and only shop where customer satisfaction is a guarantee. Kingdom Books and Stationery.
Oh yes, with our 30 days credit facility with no interest charge, free delivery services, and our free consultation on setting up your office, Kingdom Books and Stationery is unmatched in our delivery of quality and affordable office essentials, equipment, and furniture.
Experience world-class customer service in all our branches in Accra, Tema, Kumasi, Cape Coast, and Takoradi.
Call us on 0302-764-101
or visit our website at www.kingdomgh.com.
Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all office essentials and stationery. Terms and conditions apply.
Puma Drinks, ready to add flavor to your life? Puma Drinks, bursting with so many flavors, you just can't have enough.
The exhibition of the voters register for the 2020 election is here.
The Electoral Commission of Ghana will display the provisional
provisional voters register at all polling stations designated as exhibition centers where voters registered recently from 18th to 25th September 2020, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. each day. Do not assume that your name is in the register. Go personally to your polling station with your voter's ID card as evidence to 1. Verify your details of registration to make sure that your name, photograph and other particulars are in the register. 2. Make claims for omitted data such as name, age or sex to be included in the register. 3. Amend details such as incorrect name, sex, age and unclear photographs in the register and on your voter ID card. 4. Know your polling station ahead of the elections. And 5. Object to the inclusion of names of unqualified persons on stated grounds. The EC has introduced a mobile telephony tracking SMS platform to enable registered voters access their registration details using their mobile phones. Very simple. Text your voter ID to 1422 on all networks to verify your details on the voters register. To ensure a safe and secure exhibition of voters register exercise, the Electoral Commission will direct all registrants to observe compulsory protection protocols like wearing of face masks, temperature checks, social distancing and hand sanitizing instituted by government as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic at all exhibition centers. Exhibition of the Provisional Voters Register is from 18th to 25th September 2020, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. each day, including Saturday and Sunday. Remember, the only way to guarantee that your name is in the voters register is to take part in the exhibition exercise. 2020 Exhibition of the Voters Register exercise. Your safety, our concern.
Welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, commercial banks in the country fear that the negative impact of COVID-19 on loans could linger until 2023. That's the fear of most of the banking chiefs sampled in the 2020 PricewaterhouseCoopers Banking Survey report. They also worried that the most firms could struggle to pay back these loans on time. They believe that this could have serious implications on their liquidity position in some banks and even going forward their profits as well. The survey carried out this year during the COVID-19 period engaged banking chiefs, finance and operational heads of 16 commercial banks in the country. Now, telecoms giant MTN says it has extended the waiver charges on mobile money transfer up to 100 Ghana cedis to the end of this year. This was introduced earlier this year during the COVID-19 period to help cushion consumers against the pandemic. Let's hear from the chief executive of MTN, Stella Madadivo, on why they decided to extend this.
We've also continued to support and commit towards COVID. So for 100 million Ghana cedis till the end of September, we'd expect that number to increase by about 50 million towards the end of the year as we continue to extend our services. And we're counting. Every day we get new requests and we add them in. And over 10 million Ghana cedis worth of MTN Foundation projects that are ongoing. And this is supporting Ghana's infrastructure development, and particularly around schools and hospitals.
And that's Stella Madadivo, his chief executive of MTN Ghana. Now, tenants at the Accra Mall are accusing management of the facility of charging them exorbitant charges, which they say they are even in dollars. According to these tenants, these rent charges are affecting their sales badly. At a news conference in Accra, President of the Tenants Association, Reverend J.B. Dankwa, is therefore appealing to government for them to come in to help them.
We cannot pay our bills. They charge us in dollars, and we are suffering. We are employing about 2,000, close to 2,000 people, and all our staff are going to be going home if we are not helped.
Reverend J.B. Dankwa is President of the Registered Tenants Association at the Accra Mall. Now, one of the global giants in oil and fat production, that is Bunge Logistics, has opened one of the biggest shea processing facility in Africa here at Tema in Ghana. Now, this is part of the company's plan to leverage and access to raw materials, human capital, as well as a unique position in terms of products. General Manager for West Africa, Dr. Antonio Ponye, has been speaking to Joy Business from the global office outside the country.
Why in Ghana? Because from Ghana we have some logistic improvement by delivering to the US, to Canada, to Europe, and to Asia. This is quite a perfect location, and so that makes sense to have a facility in Ghana, and this is also close to the raw material, to the shea nuts.
General Manager for West Africa Bangladesh, that is Crockett, that is Dr. Anthony Toppin. Now, global provider of energy commodity prices, that is Plaid, is forecasting a marginal pickup in crude prices by the end of this year. It's looking at hitting an average price of $44 a barrel by December this year. Now, speaking at the Chamber of Bulk Distributors S&P Platts Industry Masterclass, they look at how this would actually impact on prices in the world. Let's hear from the engagement manager at S&P Global Platts, that is Jean-Laurent Tosche. And that's all for business on Newsnight.
Hey, Charlie, my network is really killing me. I have to pay my uncle's workers mobile money, but the charges alone, it's about 380 cedis. Charges alone just to send money? That's $10 of cement already, my guy. Listen, bro, you can save money on charges if you move to Vodafone Cash now. Vodafone Cash? But my network is... Hey, sending money on that your network, you pay. Sending money on your network to other networks, you pay. But guess what? Sending money on Vodafone Cash is free. Sending money on Vodafone Cash to all other networks is also absolutely free. No charges at all on Vodafone Cash. So tell me, what are you still doing on that your network? Masa, look sharp, then move to Vodafone Cash. Hey, make I change the SIM right now. Yes!